Despite losing almost $800,000 of drugs belonging to a notorious cartel, I was arrogantly confident that I had the ability to work things out. Their SUV pulled up. I was signaled to get into the passenger seat. My contact, the Cuban, asked me what the hell had happened. I told him my crew couldn't find the van with the merchandise, but we were doing everything we could to find it. The deal in question was with the new crew, and it turns out they ripped us off. I was told the bosses wanted to see me. Not good. A guy sitting in the back seat laid out his hand and told me to give him my cell. He handed me a dark-colored handkerchief and ordered me to put it over my eyes while he tied it. I was pulled to the floor of the SUV and felt the cold barrel of a gun thrust into the back of my head. You messed with the wrong people. Cold sweat. I tried to make sense of the turns and stops as we drove, but I couldn't concentrate. The SUV parked. A faint light came through the handkerchief, but I couldn't make out anything. More voices approached. Handcuffs were tightly put on my wrist before I was pulled out of the SUV and thrown onto the cold cement. A barrage of kicks to my head, torso, and legs, cuss words mixed with sick laughter. I passed out from a combination of fear and pain. When I came to, I felt like I had a horrible hangover. I blinked and could still feel the handkerchief over my eyes. I tried to move, but my right hand was handcuffed to some type of metal structure close to the ground. The metal of the cuffs clanked. How was your night? I said nothing. Where's the merchandise, Pollo? He kicked me in the stomach. I'm certain he was wearing cowboy boots. The blow took my breath away. Multiple voices now, more kicks, and a burning whip sensation on my back. Stretch out your hand. I felt thin metal wires being wrapped around my index finger and thumb. It was an electrical cord with one end peeled. They plugged the cord in and out of the socket and told me to count the shocks. My body jerked. I eventually blacked out. I'm a 23-year-old guy trapped in a Juarez safe house being tortured by cartel henchmen. How was I going to get out of this? Many thoughts rushed through my head. I wondered if I'd ever see my parents again. For the past few years, our relationship was strained mainly because of me. I knew they had questions about my lavish lifestyle, and I didn't want to hear about it. So it was just easier for me to distance myself. I knew that I had gotten myself into this. It started way back. From a young age, I was this inconsiderate, self-centered jerk, though my family was well known in the community and hardworking. So self-centered, in fact, that I'd push my parents to buy me name brand stuff. Shoes, shirts, watches. I cared about that stuff. My dad owned car lots, so he'd come home in different vehicles, sometimes really nice, other times kind of junky. I was really vocal about what kind of car I was okay with him driving me to school in. That attitude grew into a horrible complex. Maybe it was part of the border culture I grew up in. What do they have? What do I have? Who has more? As a high school freshman, I hung out with the wealthy guys, most from across the border. They had connections. That's when I started dealing drugs. Dime bags, then pounds. I was in these circles for years, and I went deeper every time. When I finished high school, I had enough cash to get a 2-bedroom home in Juarez. It was my playground and office. Business was booming. With time, each deal got bigger and my profits too. My small safe wasn't cutting it anymore, so I got creative. I discovered that my closet doors were hollow, which meant that I could pull the back layer off and stuff the middle with cash. My craving to become someone was coming true in a twisted way. Homes, vehicles, trips, jewelry, alcohol, drugs, power. I had it all. Remarkably, the more I acquired, the less satisfied I felt. And that's what drove me to that one deal that threw me straight into the doghouse. I was in serious trouble, but I was so cocky that I thought I had what it took to get out. I could sell everything or do just one more deal. Tragically, it took a few weeks of me being kidnapped to realize how little power I really had. By week 3 of being kidnapped, my body and mind were deteriorating quickly. I thought, I can't live like this anymore. I needed outside intervention. That's when I said words that sounded like prayer. I didn't care about religion, went to church a few times with my family, and I even got good at putting on this religious poker face. But as soon as I walked out, it was all about me again. I was at the end of my rope now. I realized that only God could help. My prayer was simple. I'm tired. I'm hurting. Forgive me. I've ran away from you so much. Help me now. But if you're done with me, let them take my life because I can't handle this anymore. On the other hand, if you'll spare my life, give me opportunities to tell people about your love. I didn't see angels with flaming swords, but I felt a new sense of not being alone. Some other things happened, like instead of getting the daily dose of ramen noodles, I got a bologna sandwich. 40 days and 40 nights later, I was told I was going home. My prayer had been answered. My heart pumped fast. I wouldn't wind up being a drug dealer statistic. Turns out the cartel negotiators took everything I owned, which was still about $300,000 less than the debt. This is where my dad comes into play. When he found out about my kidnapping, he did everything he could to get me out. He signed over businesses, homes, retirement accounts, all to cover the remaining debt. He became poor so that I might regain my life. I knew I didn't deserve my dad's extravagant generosity. A gift of pure grace that left me speechless, though I wanted to scream out in thankfulness. After I was freed, I felt like my heart had undergone a transplant. I didn't care much about myself or material things anymore. The grace I received drove me to want to live for others now. The only possessions I was left with were a bedroom set, an old Suburban, and some outdated gold-laced Versace shirts. Somehow, it felt okay, though. I moved to Dallas, got a job that didn't require me to have to look for a place to hide my earnings, met a girl who I fell in love with while enjoying unlimited salad and breadsticks for only $5.99 at you-know-where. Yeah, you do. We married, made 2 babies, and have been together for 12 years. Being a husband and a father is not easy, but oh so beautiful. It's a breath-by-breath opportunity to protect, provide, forgive, be forgiven, listen, and love deeply. I began to go to church, got involved, eventually became a pastor, and now lead a small church that meets in a furniture warehouse. My purpose in life is to tell anyone who's willing to listen that God's grace runs deep. It's been 15 years now since I was kidnapped and left my life as a drug dealer behind. My life is proof that second chances do exist.